At the start of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, all predictions pointed towards the same thing. After the ballistic missile barrage on airports and military positions, the Russian Air Force will quickly swoop in, destroy the remaining Ukrainian Air Force and air defenses, and establish full superiority in the air. However, 18 days into the war, Russia still hasn't achieved air superiority. In fact, they aren't even close to it. On top of that, just their visually confirmed losses add up to 12 planes, 6 UAVs, and 15 helicopters. I repeat, these are just the visually confirmed ones. The real numbers are higher. Meanwhile, according to US officials, 80% of Ukraine's fixed-wing assets are still intact and Ukrainian air defenses are still shooting down planes, helicopters, and missiles. Ukrainian air forces and air defenses aren't only surviving, but succeeding against the Russian Air Force, which is 10 times their size. So what's going on here? How is this even possible? Ukrainians don't have flying tractors after all. Here are the main reasons for the Russian Air Force's spectacular failure. Number 1. Smart Ukrainian maneuvering. Ukrainians have been shuffling their assets around in a very effective manner ever since the start of the war. This is why the Russians' initial rocket barrage didn't break them, and is a major factor in the Russian Air Force being virtually ineffective against them. All this relates to reason number 2. Terrible Russian equipment or the lack thereof. There are pictures floating around defense blogs showing Russian pilots in jets above Syria using commercial GPS units in the cockpit. Things like this are a huge red flag, indicating massive problems with Russian equipment even prior to Ukraine's invasion. Not only that, but Ukrainians also recovered pieces of paper from downed Russian jets with strike coordinates written on them. That's right, Russian pilots are given pieces of paper before takeoff, but when they get there, Ukrainians will have moved away already, and the pilot has nothing to strike. And then some of them get shot down by Ukrainian air defenses. And so reason number 3 is the lack of proper training for pilots. Russian pilots fly far less than NATO pilots, half as much in fact, and don't practice any complex maneuvers beyond flying in pairs and hitting the occasional ground targets. This is what they did in Syria as well. But what works against rebel militias won't work against a modern, mechanized opponent with proper air defenses. This relates to reason number 4, Russian inability to organize on a large scale. To establish dominance over the Ukrainian sky, Russians would need very complex, massive air maneuvers, coordinating a large number of aircraft at the same time. And they are just not able to do that. Russians don't have the experience or the knowledge to pull off such actions. Instead, they do the same thing in the air as they do on the ground. In lieu of proper planning and organization, they just throw more soldiers and equipment at the problem, hoping the Ukrainians will eventually buckle. But it seems like this will not happen. Consequently, the Ukrainians are able to hold off the Russians and cause significant losses. This is why Russians don't have air superiority after 18 days and most likely won't be able to achieve it, period. Now, some people might come in and say, not so fast, the Russians must be saving their strength for the real air campaign, which is definitely coming. Operation Godot is imminent, where the Ukrainians will get wiped out. We've all heard people saying this, but this is a bad assessment. As a rule of thumb, if Russia could have established air superiority, they would have done so already, but they cannot, so they did not, due to reasons detailed in this video. I hope this little blurb from me helped people better understand the war situation in Ukraine. In the meantime, you can support me on Patreon if you so choose, and I thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more coverage of the Ukrainian invasion in the near future, and I'll be seeing you next time.